Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Dear students of 9C, Assalamu alaikum. I am your teacher Muhammad Ilyas. And dear students, this is our ninth interaction regarding biology for Cambridge. Dear students, the first topic which I have selected for you is the respiration, the practical work related to respiration. And according to your book Practical Biology, a course for O level, chapter number 9, and according to CI syllabus, topic number 8. Dear students, our objectives for today's will be as follows. We will be able to understand the practical procedure and solve the questions given in the practical book as your journal by focusing on the respiratory system of man. Secondly, we will compare the amount of carbon dioxide in the inspired or inhaled and expired or exhaled air. Thirdly, we will compare the amount of oxygen in inspired and expired air. So these are our objectives, and before going to do the practical work, now we are going to focus on the respiratory system. We will focus on the structure of the respiratory system, the mechanism of ventilation of the lungs, and the process of gas exchange. Despite the fact that respiration and breathing are different things, the organs in the body concerned with the breathing are usually called the respiratory system. The structure of the respiratory system, as shown in this figure, the lungs are contained within the chest or thoracic and separated from the organs of the abdomen by a sheet of muscles called diaphragm. Dear students, the movements of the diaphragm and thoracic wall are responsible for changing the volume of the thorax and causing air to move in and out of the lungs. Connecting each rib with the next, there are intercostal muscles which could contract to move the ribs. There are two sets of intercostal muscles: external intercostal muscles that lie on the top of the internal intercostal muscles. The diaphragm is curved and shaped like a shallow, upturned bowl or dome. It is made of muscles and fibrous tissue with thicker muscles around the edge where it is attached to the inside of the chest wall. Dear students, the airways leading to the lungs form a highly branched structure called the bronchial tree. Air enters the mouth or nose and passes down the windpipe or trachea. This divides into two tubes called the bronchi, one bronchus leading to each lung. The bronchi divide into smaller tubes called bronchioles, leading to the air sacs known as alveoli. You can see the structure of the alveoli or the air sacs. The alveoli are surrounded by dense capillary networks and are site of gas exchange between the air in the lungs and the blood. Dear students, the wall of the trachea and bronchioles contain rings of cartilage, and these support the walls of the airways and keep them open during inhalation. The lungs in the inner wall of the thorax are surrounded by two thin layers or elastic tissue called the pleural membranes. They form a complete airtight seal around the lungs, ensuring that the lungs inflate and deflate during movements of the chest wall. Between the pleural membrane is a space called the pleural cavity and filled with a thin layer of pleural fluid. Pleural fluid acts as a lubricant so that the lungs don't stick to the inside of the chest wall during breathing. At the top of the trachea is a voice box or larynx which contains the vocal cords When we speak, air passes over the vocal cords, causing them to vibrate and to produce the sound. This is the introduction about the structure of the respiratory system. Now we are going to compare between the inhaled and exhaled air. Dear students, you can see inhaled air, which we are going to take in from the atmosphere, containing nitrogen 78%, oxygen 21%, carbon dioxide 0.04%. It may vary 0.03, 0.03 to 0.04 in different books, and other like the water contents and the dust particles and other things are 1%. While the exhaled air is containing nitrogen 78%, because nitrogen is not going to be diffused into our bloodstream. It comes back as it enters in the respiratory system. Oxygen 16%, carbon dioxide 4%, and other contents are 1%. So this is the composition of inhaled and exhaled air. After having this comparison, now we are moving towards our first investigation, but the investigation number is 9.6 according to your book, and this is the respiratory system of man, and the apparatus and the materials which are required for this investigation. We need a model of the man respiratory system. Now we are going to focus on the procedure. First of all, we have to examine the model of human respiratory system, trace the path of the air from atmosphere into the alveoli, making a drawing of respiratory system in the space given below, and then label the following structures: external nostril, nasal passages, pharynx, larynx, trachea, cartilaginous port, bronchus, bronchiole, air sacs or alveoli, diaphragm, lungs, and pleural cavity, pleural ribs, and intercostal muscles present between the ribs. So this procedure we are going to follow, and for this purpose we have this diagrammatic representation of the respiratory system of human. Dear students, you can see the nasal cavity, the oral cavity, the pharynx, larynx, the trachea, bronchi, lung, heart, and ribs. The intercostal muscles are present between the ribs, as I have discussed with you earlier, and the pleural cavity is going to surround the lungs, and the trachea having the cartilaginous rings, you can see from this diagram. Now you have to solve the questions given in your practical book and draw this respiratory system of the man. Now we are moving towards the investigation number 9.7 according to your book, and we have to compare the amount of carbon dioxide in inspired or inhaled and expired or exhaled air. Dear students, the apparatus and materials which we are requiring for this practical, we need 2 conical flasks, glass tubings, rubber bunks, and the lime water. And we have to set the apparatus as you are going to see in this diagram. Conical flask A and the delivery tube C, which is going inside the lime water, and the delivery tube D, which is above the lime water in the conical flask A, and then a tube placed in the mouth, and the delivery tube E, which is going into the lime water of the conical flask B, and the delivery tube coming out from the conical flask B, F. And this is how we have to set the apparatus, and then we will go for this procedure. Dear students, for this experiment we make use of the fact that lime water absorbs carbon dioxide and produces a white precipitate. First, two conical flasks containing about the same volume of lime water with glass tubings as shown in the diagram above. You can see. Then place the open end of the tube T in the mouth and breathe air in and out through the mouth. As air is breathed in, the atmospheric air, that is inspired air, is drawn into the tube C. It bubbles through the lime water in the flask A and up through the tube D into the mouth. Any carbon dioxide present in inspired air will be absorbed by the lime water. When air is breathed out, the expired air passes through the tube E into the lime water in the flask B and out into the atmosphere through tube F. The lime water in the flask B will absorb any carbon dioxide present in the expired air. After a few minutes, what do you observe in the two flasks? This will be our observation, that the inspired air while passing through the conical flask A, the lime water present in the conical flask A, a slight white precipitate is formed, while in the conical flask B, through which the expired air was passing out, a white precipitate are formed. You can see now from this picture that the expired air is containing more carbon dioxide as compared to the inspired air. So from this experiment, dear students, we can conclude that the expired air is having more quantities of carbon dioxide as compared to the inspired air. Now we are going to focus on our investigation number 9.A according to our book, and we have to compare the amount of oxygen in inspired or inhaled and expired or exhaled air. Dear students, the apparatus and the materials which we are going to have for this practical, we need two gas jars with glass plate covers, a rubber tubing, a trough of water, a stopwatch, and we need our deflagrating spoon with a small candle fixed in it. And this is how we have to fix the apparatus. Now you can see the deflagrating spoon and a stopwatch, a burning candle, a glass jar, rubber tubing, and water trough. What is the procedure? Now we are focusing on the procedure. Collect 2 jars of expired air by taking in a deep breath and then blowing out through a rubber tubing as shown in the figure. The expired air would displace all the water from the gas jar. Fix a small candle on the cup of a deflagrating spoon, light the candle, and get a stopwatch ready. Lower the lighted candle into a jar of expired air as shown in the figure. Start the watch the moment the candle enters the jar. Stop the watch when the flames goes out. Record the time taken in the table below. Repeat step 3 using 2 or more jars of expired air and record your results and calculate the time taken. In this how we will be able to investigate that the oxygen which is present in the exhaled air is less than the inhaled air. And then you have to fill the table given in your book and solve the questions on your practical book. Dear students, I have selected this homework. You have to solve all the questions given on your practical notebook, investigation 9.6 to 9.A, and these questions are present on the page number 104 to 108 and sent to your respective groups for evaluation.